Erickson Brothers, another pod. How you doing?
Good. We're here. We're out. All right, let's jump into it. It's a Saturday. The weather is nice for me here in New York City. It's 82 degrees right now. So
Holy,
I,
holy, you got a window in the background? You want to unblur your screen for half a second?
yeah, you want to see?
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I got
Okay. I
um,
see it. I still see it through the shades.
yeah, yeah.
Good stuff. Good
Mhm.
stuff.
So,
Um, Easter tomorrow. Man, you got any plans this weekend?
I've got plans after this. Got some Easter plans. Um, I went to a Maundy Thursday service, and
A Thursday service.
yeah, it's called Maundy Thursday, which is it's a specific service to remember when Jesus was handed over to the Roman guards,
In the Garden of Gethsemane.
the Garden of Gethsemane. And one thing that I had never really put together, but that I did on Thursday, was that when Adam was in the Garden of Eden, um, uh, when Adam was in the Garden of Eden, God says, "Do not take this fruit, and you will have life." And Adam takes the fruit and forever sets the course of human history on a sinful path. Then God says to Jesus in the garden, uh, take this cup and you will have death. And
What was the
in
cup? Was it
it's
that?
the metaphorical cup of taking on the weight of our sins.
Okay.
And Jesus not deserving hell takes or let's pull up the Bible verse. But when Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, he goes like, "Can you let this cup pass by me?" And Jesus is pretty much freaking out because he knows what he's about to go through,
Yeah.
and and he's like, and that's when he's sweating blood because he knows what's
Yeah.
about to happen. And a lot of people take this moment as if there's any wavering point in Jesus, it's here when he's freaking out and he's like, Lord, do I have to do this? Like, I know it not my will, but yours. There's this
Yeah.
um and not my will but yours, like let this cup pass over. And God says, well, it is my will, and Jesus goes through with it. But anyway, God tells Jesus to be obedient, which leads to death because he takes on the sin of the world because of his love for us. So I referenced that in my mind with Romans 8:28, I think, for I'm convinced that neither death nor life, nor angels, no demons, no whatever can separate us from the love of God. Because I think Paul, and I didn't really understand, I understood that verse, but I think it has meant a whole lot more to me now because Jesus could have he could have left. He was God, right? He could have stopped whatever was happening while he was getting crucified at any time
Mhm.
and chose the path of life. And instead he chooses to take on our sins because he loved us so much. And I think that neither death nor life could separate us from the love of God. I think that for me, that means a whole lot more to me now because I'm specifically thinking about Jesus in the garden, knowing that he could have not gone through with the entire crucifixion and he would have had life. He would have
Yeah.
been right. But instead, he loved us so much that he decides to take on our sins so that life nor death can separate us from the love of God, because we know that he had that option as he was going through the starting with the Garden of Gethsemane and ending with the crucifixion. There's nothing that was going to separate us from the love of God, and that's what he was doing that for, was for the love that he has for each one of us. Um, and I think that it just to like sum it all up, Jesus could have chosen life for himself,
Mm,
and that would have separated us from ultimately that would have separated us from the Father and from him, because he's not he's not serving as a propitiation for our sin, right? But since he does take on the sins of the world, we are now able to live in perfect communion and eternal salvation with God because of what Jesus did 2000 years ago.
what
And
if
I and
what
I
if
think that Romans verse right there means a whole lot more to me now, knowing that God Jesus' obedience to choose death led us to life. Um, and then on top of that, Adam's disobedience to
right.
choose when it the
Mm,
whole thing. So
what if the Garden of Eden was the same place as the Garden of Gethsemane?
I mean, I don't
What if it was like the
know.
same geographical location?
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's an answer out there, but I think that the importance is like the garden
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm tracking
is
you.
like here we are, like the fate of humanity in the garden the first time with Adam,
Yeah,
and
and
Adam
then it
chooses
basically
death.
goes full circle. Do you think Jesus was thinking about Adam that night?
Yeah, yeah, he was. Like he
Wow.
knew that he was a Jewish scholar. Like he knew he grew up Jewish, so
Yeah,
he knew Adam, he knew Abraham, he knew David. He quoted the Old Testament all the time, like
yeah,
two Pharisees. He quoted Levitical law, and he quoted Isaiah and all these
yeah.
prophets that he would fulfill. So he definitely knew Adam. And I think that when he's in that moment of distress and he knows what's about to happen, I think like he knows that there was also a moment in a garden where God told Adam to be obedient and he didn't, and that led to sin coming
Mm,
falling over the entirety of man. And now Jesus has this opportunity to be obedient to save humanity from sin. Um, and one act that led us all into sin, and one act from Jesus that saved us all from sin. And
cool. And they
um,
both run the garden.
they both started in the garden. Um, so
Cool.
yeah, yeah.
Fire. I love that analogy. I've never thought about that before. What if there's like, I'm trying to think of like if there was more similarities. Like, what if when Adam first took the apple and whatnot, and then God was looking for him, and Adam realized he was naked? What if Adam was sweating blood when God was looking for him? Like, man, that'd be cool too if like there's more similarities in there.
Well, I don't think he was sweating blood because
Well,
like
he was still nervous and he was scared and like he had to
no, I mean
confront God.
he wasn't scared of God. He was scared that he was now naked, and he was made aware through eating of the apple that he was naked. He didn't fear God, right? He knew God made had him have a direct orders like here's this entire garden for you, all you can do, and then with the exception of like don't eat from the tree of knowledge, and he does. Um, so I like in terms of other similarities, like Adam takes the apple, um, in an act of obedience, act of disobedience, and Jesus takes the cup in an act of obedience. But yeah, I think there's probably more too. We
Yeah,
can
cool. I mean, I like it. I like it. I like where it's going, and I'll share that with some of my friends. I'm going to a church service tonight. Um, Going to a church service tonight. An Easter service in Point Loma, which I'm excited for, and then we're doing a sunrise service on the beach tomorrow. Um,
nice.
that's at 5:30 a.m.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm going with Uncle Tom and Aunt Christine and some of our family there. But 5:30 a.m. and there's like gonna be like 4,000, 5,000 people on the beach tomorrow morning.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like one of the biggest services of the year, and it's on the beach in Carlsbad, and it's gonna be nuts. So I'm
Wow.
I'm excited for it. I've never done anything like that in regards to a sunrise service, number one, but number two, also on the beach. Um, I think it'll kind of be pretty chaotic, but it'll be good.
That's awesome.
And
That's
I'm
awesome.
also I'm breaking up my Easter pants today.
Nice.
So I'm not wearing them tomorrow too. I wear them like twice a year.
Nice.
You got
Nice.
it. You got to get yourself some Easter pants.
Yeah, I think New York, people dress in New York in such muted colors that it's like if you wear light blue, then you're like, whoa, that's a lot. Like, oh, got your yeah, like not even sky blue. I'd say like anything like a shade less than dark blue. Then people are like, that's out there. Like, yeah, anything outside of black, gray, white, dark
Yeah.
blue. But our New York is a very like late city. As you know, like people go to dinner late, they stay out late,
Hmm.
but and that's just like culturally. So it on the flip side, it also like starts late in the morning and culturally there isn't a people are not like getting up at 5 because it's just a very
Hmm.
late city. So our church has our pastors we're adding a third service and he's calling the early service a sunrise service as a joke because he knows how late New Yorkers tend to get up. So that one's at 8:30 and that's our sunrise service.
8:30
So
at night.
that's the stretch there. So my sunrise service and your sunrise service are starting at the exact same time. Mine's at 8:30 Eastern and yours is at 5:30 Pacific. So just
We're going to church at the same time.
so
That's
just
awesome.
know when you get up at 4 a.m. for that, it's when a New Yorker gets up at 7 a.m., that's how they feel.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
we'll be looking at the same sun.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. So yeah, yours will for you it'll be over the east, and for me it'll
It'll be
be
over
over.
the west. I'm joking.
Well, if we're on different sides of the country, then
Well, you see, it's a flat Earth, so the sun could be in the middle.
yeah. Well, the sun since it's a flat Earth, the sun just goes like this around the flat Earth.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and then you
That's
got the moon there too, so it's just like around. Yeah, Antarctica is on the outside. Oh yeah, I know my flat Earth.
I know my flat Earth.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. I know last time we did a pod, we talked about the Daniel fast, which is one of the strictest fasts in the world. And if somebody didn't get a chance yet to listen to last week's pod, do a quick little recap of number one, the Daniel fast, how long you did it for, and what the goal of it was.
Yeah. So the Daniel fast is rooted out of the book of Daniel when Daniel and his buddies defied King Nebuchadnezzar and did not eat what the king had prepared all of his servants. So All the other servants eat what the king ate, and Daniel and his buddies ate only fruits, vegetables, and things from the ground for 10 days. So Daniel's promise to the king was that we're not going to do this, but we promise you that we're going to be sharper, clearer, better prepared at the end of the fast than what your servants are because of the differences in what we're eating. So I did that for 10 days. And I think that the Daniel fast, it might be 21 days in the Bible. Or maybe it's 10, but I know there's a 10-day fast and a 21. So I did 10 days. So I had pretty much fruit, vegetables, and nuts for 10 days, um, and
Crazy.
just water. And it was really cool.
What was the ma number one thing you craved?
Pizza.
That's my favorite food in the whole entire world.
Yeah.
What kind of pizza? Like a New York flop?
Just anything. Yeah. No, like maybe a Sicilian pepperoni,
Mm.
nice saucy Sicilian,
With like a dunk in the ranch?
a dunk in the ranch, and like just a perfect amount of like oil from the pepperoni and a nice crisp on the outside. Um,
Fire.
so yeah, but I think that there were a lot of takeaways from it. Like one, mental clarity and just not having brain fog from eating processed foods and fatty foods and carved up foods. So I feel like I was mentally clear. I think also just on the like pure physical side, I'm now less reliant on a in a meal to have bread, pasta, rice. I think that like for some reason in our culture we think that we need carbs. It's like nobody's short on carbs. We're short on healthy foods. We're short on fruits, vegetables, antioxidants. Nobody's short on carbs. So I think that this thing that you need to have carbs for energy is a lie, especially when people really just are talking about bread, pasta, rice. Like there's nothing nutrient for the most part. Or
Yeah.
I guess better way to say it, those foods are so much less nutrient dense than vegetables, um, fruits. And now that I've built back meat into my diet, like those are just fillers. And to think that you need bread or pasta for energy, I think is just kind of BS. And that's why the US is all fat. Um, because we think we need bread and pasta with every meal.
What's
Um,
your sidebar? What's your pre-run night before meal? I know I think of the classic scene with Michael Scott eating
yeah.
fettuccine Alfredo. What's
Yeah.
what's
Well,
your
I think like that in itself too is a big fable too. Like that you need to carbo load before like these big events. Like that's just not true. I think you need to eat healthy. I think that as I've learned, like honestly, like steak and vegetables and like rice too. Like I think that basing the meal off of a protein is going to get me a lot further than basing the meal off of fettuccine. So, and I think that that's well, when Tim Grover started training Michael Jordan and really started getting Michael Jordan into weights, and he was like the first basketball player to lift weights, and he became this beast and was ended up being stronger, faster, jump higher, more endurance than everybody. What helped Michael Jordan is his diet was eating um, a steak before games, and because the release of energy in a steak, and I don't know if this applies to other proteins, I assume it does. The energy release is so much more consistent than if you were to just have carbs, where you might get that spike and then
Mm.
crash. Um, but the steak just holds in your system a lot better to where you have sustained energy throughout. And that's really what you're going for in a run. Um, so it I yeah, so back to the Daniel fast, less reliant on bread, um, which is good. I think, and then just spiritually recognizing that, like, okay, last point of the physical attributes is that like it's okay to be hungry. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world to just like be hungry for a little bit.
Hmm.
Like, you'll overcome it. You'll live, right? So like I don't need to like stuff my face 3 times a day to like function on this earth. I think that something where during the Daniel fast where I'm having these meals and having nuts and salads and vegetable bowls, um, I think like the baseline was like a mild hunger throughout the day. It's not a huge deal, right? I was never full during the Daniel fast. Um, and I think that helped the mental clarity too. But just the idea that we need to be full all the time too, I think is weird. So and then just spiritually, a lot of people do the Daniel fast because in times of prayer, people often fast as well, and just to hear from the Lord. So I think with that, like being more reliant on knowing that we are conquering our flesh and saying like our by fasting we are saying no to the flesh desires and saying yes to what God has and leaning in like God is our um sustenance. And like if people could take that out of context and think that I'm telling everybody to be anorexic, but I think within my situation, and I think most situations, it can definitely help people. And I think too, the one thing also is like when people fast and like want to hear from the Lord, hear from God, is like they think, oh, as soon as I fast, I'm going to hear an answer because I'm being obedient, and like that's the answer because God's going to hear me in that moment, and blah blah blah. And there's going to be a one-to-one correlation between fasting and what God has for me. And I think that certainly can be true, but for me, it's more I shouldn't be, I'm not fasting out of a sign I need from the Lord. I'm fasting out of the call to be obedient. And not be sign based and not be like emotion based or what the Lord has. Like the Lord has revealed a ton um through scripture and in my life already where I don't need anything more. I think that or I don't want to say that, but I don't want to be like relying on signs from God when in the Bible it's such an important thing to fast. I should do it just out of obedience. Um, and then for me personally, the last spiritual takeaway for me, God, like as a background, like I'm involved in quite a few things. Um, and God doesn't want anything more from me in terms of like more activity. Um, and I think that's like where my fault can be is like I'm just going to add activity, I'm going to do more, I'm going to try harder. God just wants a closer relationship. So for me, it's always easy to like go lead a Bible study or like let's go to church. Let's go to church again. Let's help like let's get coffee. Let's help people out. Like that's easy for me. But what God and those are all great. And I think God is like has shown fruit in those things where it's been really helpful. But the main thing that I've learned is that God just wants a close relationship. Um, and he just wants to know me intimately above all. Um, and all these things that I do are great, but the most important thing is going to be the relationship aspect.
Do you feel like he's giving you more direction because of the fast, or no?
Uh, I think that there's been some things that I've like are still in process that he's shown and he's honored and he's continued to like guide me down certain paths um that have yet to like finalize, but just like made certain things more clear. Um, so for sure, but I think that also like I don't want to be fasting because I think that God is missing and God need and like somehow like and I think it's different for everybody, but like just fasting out of obedience is important too. Um and in Daniel when he fasts, like what's his glory and his glory with the king, it does not happen a day after he's done fasting, or it doesn't happen during his fast. Like his ultimate like pinnacle in David when he's at the right hand of the king is many years after, and it's a life of continued obedience. So I think that I need to remember that like God's on a timeline throughout eternity, and I might want something in a day to come or a week to come. Um, Immediately after I do something or I pray or go to church, whatever it is. But I think like God is outside of that timeline. So um just got to be like faithful with that. So
Oh,
does any of that not make sense? I talked a lot.
makes sense. I'm tracking.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and that's good. And I think that's a I really like what you said when you said you should fast to show obedience, not because you want to benefit.
Hmm.
Um, and that's like I think that's what it's all about is, being in close proximity with God and, being so in tune with him and his word that fasting is just like it's almost like a symptom of your
Mm.
relationship.
Right. Right. Because we're not relying on things of the world. We're relying on what he
Mhm.
has. So I think I'll continue to um I'll start to build in fasting, not 10-day fasts where I'm only eating vegetables, but like 24-hour fasts when I just have water. I've done that now twice. I did it last week. And I think that that can be more sustainable too. Um, and
How do energy levels get affected?
in one day,
Yeah,
or oh, in just
just one day.
not eating for 24 hours one day, no effect to energy.
Really?
Yeah. I I the day that I've done it twice now is on days when I don't work out because like I have a pretty similar week routine. So when on days that I know I'm not gonna be benching or squatting or running, I think that's a good day to fast, or it's a responsible day to fast. I think that going out running 13 miles and then hitting a lift and then not eating is not healthy. But in times when I'm in days where I'm just going to work, maybe going to something at night and then coming home, it did not affect my energy. Um, so I think, yeah, it's just like learning to be less reliant on the patterns of this world. Um, and so I would encourage you to do it. Um,
Oh, either the Daniel fast or the one day. Either one.
uh, I think you could start with just a 24-hour fast.
I'm game. I'll try it out. I'll try it out.
And like paradoxically, when people fast in the Bible, it's when they're wanting to hear from the Lord about something specific. So, um, and I think that God sometimes does answer in times of fasting. He will give direction. For me personally, my note that I said about like sign based, like I'm also want to make sure that I'm doing it out of obedience and not from a sign. But it is quite common that people do it for for a sign, and like I,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's between you and God, right? Like who who am I to say what people should feel or shouldn't feel after a fast? So I would encourage you to do it one day, and you could even while you're fasting pray about an extended fast and see if God's like, hey, like while you're in this time of like hearing from the Lord, you could also say, hey, is this like something
You
that I
know
want?
when like Forrest Gump ran to the end of the block and he's like, I thought I'd go to the end of the town. And then he's like, I got to the end of the town, I just figured I'd go to the end of the state. And he just like keeps on going.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
same energy.
Amen. Yeah. So, but don't run to the end of the town when you're fasting.
No, no, no
But
running.
yeah, during the 10-day fast, I definitely did not work out as much. Um,
Your body's working in different areas.
it is. And I think like sometimes people work out because they're motivated to burn off the burger and beer they had the night before. But like, I'm, there's no like 1,000 pound, there's no like 2,000 calorie meal that I need to burn off. So it kind of works in that way too. So yeah, I encourage you to do that. Or
I'll try it
maybe
out. I'll try it
or
out.
even start with like a meal. You're just like, hey, I'm not gonna have lunch today.
I
Or
I unfortunately miss a lot of lunches. I'll like forget to eat lunch. It'll be like 4 o'clock. I'll be like, oh dang, I've been in meetings all afternoon. I forgot to eat. And I'll be like, it's too late to eat lunch now because then my dinner's ruined. So
yeah.
I unintentionally fast through lunch sometimes. But I like the 24-hour fast and I'll take you up on that challenge. You got my word. I'll take you up on that challenge.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna do it Tuesday.
All right. Make sure I don't have anything crazy going on Tuesday.
So
Uh,
the two times I've done it where, for example, I'll have dinner Monday night and not eat again until Tuesday night. That was one time, and then another time is that I had breakfast on Tuesday morning and I didn't eat again until Wednesday morning. So,
yeah. All right. All right. I'll keep you updated.
all right,
Tuesday. I wrote it down in my
all right,
notepad. I wrote it down, so that'd be cool.
yeah, yeah. So I think, um, yeah, Tuesday. I think I'll do it. I'll start. I'll have breakfast Tuesday morning and then be done until Wednesday morning.
Nice.
So yeah, it is hard. Um, your mouth tastes weird after a little bit. It's like there's nothing there.
Dude,
But
that's how my mouth always tastes. I've been wearing Invisalign and it's always like stale. Like my mouth is just stale and plasticky like a lot. So,
okay,
I've been training for the fast.
okay, yeah. I mean, you could just keep Invisalign in for 24 hours and you'll see progress on your teeth more, and you won't need to eat.
That should be part of Invisalign's marketing. They should just market to people who do like crazy fasts. Be like, it's no different. Like,
Yeah, yeah. You're from the Lord. Here's Invisalign.
you'll be smiling more with Christ in your life. Invisalign. Anyway, cool, man. Well, closing thoughts here. Closing thoughts. One quick closing thought is speaking of running and fasting. Kayla and I signed up for the La Jolla half marathon in 2.5 weeks from now.
Nice.
And
Have
here's how I'm
you
going to
done it?
train. Here's how I'm going to train. I
You
figured,
haven't trained yet?
no, here's how I'm going to train. I'm going to do a lot of bicep curls and tricep extensions. And I'm going to visualize running, visualize. And maybe I'll do a 24-hour fast, and that'll be my training.
I hope in your fast that you realize you need to train for a running race by running.
No, that's where you're wrong, sir. Last half marathon, didn't train for it, crushed it. And you know what they say? You know that statistic, I think it was like the Harvard Business School did a statistic of like people visualizing practicing free throws. And then like that was group one, and then like group two, like actually practice free throws, and like group three was like people who didn't practice. The people who visualized practicing actually had the same results as the people who actually practiced. So that's my hypothesis for this training. I'm gonna visualize finishing this race.
You could visualize and actually practice.
Well, that wasn't part of the study, so I don't want to put too many variables in here.
Okay. Okay. Just make sure you don't sauna and not drink any water the night before.
All right. But anyway, I'll keep you updated with that. We're pretty excited.
Yeah. You're gonna be one of those guys that just gets his ass kicked by his girlfriend in a half marathon.
Beyonce.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good.
Yeah, no, that'll be great.
hmm hmm
Looking forward to it. But anyway, let's close up. Um, all in all, man, happy Easter. And enjoy time today with with your friends and your lady.
She's out of town.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm
with
I'm
your friends.
taking care of the dog. Can you see?
Your dog is in your feet, or your dog is in I
Did you
just saw
not see?
I saw your feet. No, I saw the dog. I saw the dog.
So
Cool.
yeah.
Well, good chat with you, man. Any closing words to our listeners and our loyal fan base?
No.
Hey, victory is already won.
Amen. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.